do a video? You want to do a video? Yeah?
Sammy, you want to model?
Do you want to make a video? When you first lose a job, there's a wide range of emotions you go through, right?
That's correct.
I had been watching videos of lots and lots of people losing jobs, and they were saying how impossible it was to get another one. I don't know if they're exaggerating, but they were saying they applied for thousands, like up to 3,000 jobs. Most of them are millennials, but there were quite a few older people too. And they were talking about, they were mostly in their 50s, 55 to 58, saying that they're having a real hard time. I know statistically, your highest income is in your 40s. Many people lose their job at 49. My father did years and years ago. My brother lost it at close to that age, and Steve lost his career job at 49 in the Great Recession. This job that he lost was our backup job, the job that we thought was secure forever until he could retire. We didn't think you could ever lose a job in this industry, as it paid well less than half of what he had been making in his career job.
True, and you never would have thought this, but with everything that's going on and with tariffs taking their toll, along with health insurance and everything else rising.
And the big thing was the food stamp reduction.
Exactly. So with the food stamp reduction, and if you're selling food, which this was the case, then your revenue is going to suffer because of it. So the way that you balance the books is you cut your expense.
Labor is the biggest expense.
The biggest expense a business has is labor.
And as health insurance is going so out of control, so far past out of control, we just can't compete, and businesses can no longer afford to give health insurance. Most deny it. They make sure their employees work less than full time or just don't offer it. I saw recently that more and more of the healthcare costs are going to be pushed down to employees. It isn't sustainable by any means. I have always argued that manufacturing will never come back to America as long as healthcare costs are out of control. It will never be profitable to manufacture products here.
Yeah, it's very hard to believe that the iPhone or any other manufactured piece of electronic equipment could be manufactured here. If you look today at electronic equipment that's manufactured in the US, mainly amplifiers, they are very, very, very expensive, and they don't manufacture a whole lot of them. And the people who buy them are usually musicians because they cost so much. And that's the way it would go. If you had items manufactured here that are cheap today or inexpensive today, would be a lot more expensive if they were manufactured in the US.
So today we were going to briefly talk about the emotions. There's so many things, so many decisions you have to make, so many considerations, because this was a pretty big surprise. Because even though I had thought about it, that big beautiful bill was pushed through in a very short time frame. I don't remember from start to finish, but I'm thinking it was less than 2 weeks. So that's not a lot of time to plan and prepare. We were not prepared to now be without income as well as health insurance.
Well, we had been preparing for the eventual day of retirement from working a normal job. And so from that aspect, we were prepared for the rest of our lives, but we weren't prepared for it to happen so soon. We were going to give it a couple more years until we were able to both get Medicare, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way. Health insurance is the most expensive part of living.
Of retiring.
Of
We had
retiring.
hoped, Steve was basically working for me to have health insurance. I had stayed at home, moving 16 times with Steve, giving up my career, and it was really hard for me to go back to a career job, as any woman will tell you. Our country does not value women at home, although they do say women should have babies and stay at home. They do not value it unless you never intend on going back to work. I had always intended on going back to work, but found that it was pretty difficult to get a career job. I even returned to school and became a certified teacher. But even at that, at my age, was discriminated against and not offered a job. I worked numerous long-term subs, so I did work 60 hours a week in the hopes that I would get hired. I didn't know that I was being used, and they had no intention of ever hiring me. So I did work 60 hours, but with no benefits. If I ever got sick, which I did from the children, I would either have to come to work sick or take off and not get paid. So Steve was able to get a job with health insurance. So our goal as a team, we have been planning for retirement since day one. I started saving when I graduated from college at 21, which was quite a few years ago. But I didn't work many years. Once I met Steve, he had not been saving for retirement. I had him save. So we have been diligent about saving as much as we could through all of these reorganizations and turbulent times in the past. 9/11 hit us hard. The Great Depression hit us hard. Then COVID, followed by, I don't know what we're going to call this crisis. I'm not sure what the name of this one will be. But we are in the early stages of what will be known as one of our biggest economic challenges in history. It doesn't have a name yet because it's not official. The stats still show that we seem to be doing very well. They show that unemployment is only at 4% and that the stock market is booming. But if you watch the videos, you'll see tons and tons of people unable to get work. Once you've been unemployed 14 weeks, you are pushed off the rolls and no longer considered to be unemployed. The two key indicators to see what real unemployment is like is, one, to talk to dentists. One of the first things people give up is dental care. That's a luxury. After that, it's health care. Then it's their pets. That kennel in New York said for the first time in 30 years they have to reject pets because so many people are rehoming their pets. These are the real indicators of our economy. The stats by the government, well, they could be delayed, altered, or whatever, that may not show the real picture. People are hurting out there. I've said this for months. I could sense people were hurting, and that's why Sammi and I We make cards for compassion. It's a thing to get our mind off of what's going on. We send hope to people. We take funny pictures of Sammy and send them to people, giving them encouragement. Going back to the emotions, I think shock and surprise was the first emotion.
Yeah. Sure. Shock and surprise, disappointment, all of those emotions definitely come out.
Anger is a big one for both of us, not just Steve. I did decide not to get a job because the only job I could get is low level with a varying schedule like Steve's was. Steve would work till midnight some nights and then work at 9 the next morning. It would be challenging for both of us to have these crazy schedules, especially as we age and we both have sleep apnea. We made a decision that I would do the majority of the work around the house so that when Steve came home, he could rest and try to recoup that sleep that he had lost.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the emotions you go through are similar to a death. You know, you're angry. I mean, you're very angry. You're angry at the company. You're angry at the person who terminated you. You're in definitely denial that anything was wrong, or in denial of what the person who terminated you said they terminated you for. And so the denial is definitely the next step after your anger. And it all depends on how long your anger lasts and how serious it gets. I don't get very angry, and I was a little angry. But then again, I was like, well, if this is the way it's going to be, that nothing I can do to change it. So let's just go on with our day.
Well, fear. Fear was another emotion. Fear of how much will health insurance cost? Will I be able to get it as the ACA is falling apart? And after COBRA ends, I will not be old enough for Medicare. We always thought our whole lives that once we got to Medicare, we wouldn't have to worry about this health insurance issue. I've been chasing health insurance my entire life. My parents would never take me to the doctor when I was very sick because my father had a great middle class job, but there were 8 children. And even with an income of an engineer, raising 8 children takes a lot of money. So I would have to be deathly ill to go to the doctor. And I often was. I was extremely ill. For some reason, I was the sickest of all 8. Probably my sleep apnea caused some of these issues as I got strep throat frequently. And I would feel tremendous guilt in going to the doctor. Then when I started working, I had insurance but never used it. There were none of these $35 doctor visit. It was the full cost, which I believe a doctor visit at that time was $35, but that was a lot of money in the 80s to pay $35.
Right.
I rarely went to the doctor. Then as Steve and I got married and I stayed home to raise the kids and start moving, each year sometimes he would bring home less money because he didn't get a raise and health insurance had gone up and we'd have less money to live on. We have been chasing health insurance our entire lives, and
Right.
it gets exhausting. It's stressful and it wears in your body. It does make you less healthy. And when I read of other countries, I just say, why?
Right. Yeah. Other countries, you see that health care is part of your taxes. And yeah, sometimes if you do have an issue, you may have to wait. That's true. And, you know, hopefully that wait won't cost you your life, but you will get health care and not have to be in debt the remainder of your years. And have to pay, you know, back millions and millions of dollars.
Well, you don't pay that back. You default, and the rest of us who have health insurance
are paying
funds.
for it. Yeah.
So it's an illogical, not a mathematical system. It makes no sense because obviously people will never pay when they owe even 10 or 20,000, and it is passed on to those of us who have health insurance. So it makes no sense. Besides being immoral, unethical, and just crazy,
True.
it is also not a mathematical model.
Right. It's not like it'll get paid back. I mean, you have somebody who might be paying $20 a week, you know, or a month, and that's never going to get paid back against $1 million invoice or even $500,000. You know, it's not unusual if you were in the hospital for something serious to have a big hospital bill that if you have no insurance, how's it going to get paid? You're not going to be able to pay it. You know, so then you're taking payments, you're negotiating the rate, and you're taking payments or paying the hospital payments on a monthly basis.
So going back to emotions, you go through that wide range of emotions. Watching the TikTok videos I've seen on the YouTube about people who've lost their jobs, there is a lot of anger. They're very angry. They talk about how it is so impossible to get a job, how you have to have 3 interviews for an entry-level job, how you have to jump through so many hoops, alter your resume for every single position. So with us, Steve has lost his job several times with reorganizations in the past, so we do have some experience with losing a job, although each one is just as traumatic as any of them. And at this age, in our 60s, I don't know, I think it's probably
tough.
one of the more challenging
Yeah,
ones.
it sure is. It sure is.
I mean, the thing we're grateful for is our kids are grown and gone and they have good jobs, that we're not responsible for them.
Yeah.
It was hard in the past when he lost jobs.
Yep.
But when he lost one job in Alabama, I remember going to unemployment with him, and nothing was online then, and they gave us a brochure saying, "Don't drink. This is, first of all, you can't afford it, and it's not healthy."
Right. Exactly.
I thought that was odd at the time, but today
Exactly.
I totally see where they're coming from. You could get so depressed and just sit and
Oh
drink
yeah,
all
very
day.
quickly.
We don't drink. Luckily, we've gave it up. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 years ago.
Something like that.
But we haven't had a drink in 3 or 4 years as we've been trying to get healthier and healthier. So things that we're doing to control these emotions, we are fortunate that I don't work, that we are able to be a team and pull each other up out of our sadness, depression, shock, anger, whatever.
It was bad for the first week. I mean, it's not like, you know, we're joyous, happy now, but it was really bad. Every day just really seemed to drag on, and it was just depressing one day after another. And, you know, I just kept asking for one happy day. Just give me one day to be happy. And, you know, it kind of wears away, and you get through this anger and the emotion, and then you go on to the next part.
Well, I don't totally agree with that. It is, it's like a death. It is like a death, so your emotions go up and down like a roller coaster. You could be happy one day, and the next day you think, what is health insurance going to cost me next year? Am I going to even be able to get health insurance once COBRA's out? So you go up and down. You have that anxiety. You may be happy, but I mean, there's so many things coming at us at one time,
Right.
with the increase of food and energy and property tax and insurance and home payments. Everything. It's just a lot to deal with. So you could be happy a day and then sad for 2, or happy for 2 and then sad. So you do have that wave of emotions, but I want to say, give yourself a break. Give yourself a break and
That's right.
realize you're going to go through this.
Yep.
And these are some of the things that we've been doing to try to keep our emotions in check.
Okay, so there's a lot of different things that you can do to kind of tame your emotions and get things under control. One thing that we like to do together is take the dogs on a walk in the morning when it's cooler, especially in the summer when it gets up into the 90s. If you don't get out early, then you're not getting out until 8, 9 o'clock at night. And so we like to get the dogs out and go for a brisk walk for at least a half hour. Like to do it for more than a half hour, but it depends on how fast it gets hot. But that helps. That helps reduce your anxiety, helps reduce your anger. Plus, you're getting exercise, and it makes you feel good. All right, that's a good release of endorphins, is to exercise and choose what works for you to do for exercise. Walking helps with us, and you know, you may look at 1.5 miles, 2 miles, maybe 3 if you're lucky. As it cools down, we'll be able to walk further. But right now, it's too hot to really walk more than a mile and a half.
That's been a real challenge. Sierra, our other dog, is 14 and a half. She's getting close to the end of her life. So it's been real hard to even walk her. We usually are down to just taking Sammy, and she can't handle more than maybe 30 minutes. And we can't handle really more than 30 minutes. But that is one thing that we do try to do. The second thing is at night, after dinner, we've done 10 to 20 minutes of mild exercises with improved health. She's my favorite person. She's on YouTube from Canada. She has different levels from easy to hard, and we do the easier ones. I can do the harder ones later by myself. Steve does have some challenges because he hasn't done these exercises. He hasn't done these exercises. But get moving. Don't sit still. Don't
sit still. Don't ruminate about losing a job and what am I going to do, and do that during the day. You should definitely calm down hours before you go to sleep, where you're just going to lay in bed and roll around and not get sleep. And sleep is extremely important, especially after you've lost a job. If you don't get sleep, you can't think and you don't have patience, and that's not good. Anger comes on very quickly.
And anxiety.
Yes.
And also you get ill. Sleep causes so many issues. It could lead to diabetes, to hypertension, to so many things. So sleep is crucial. Again, that's one of the big reasons that I never got a job, was because we knew that it would cost me sleep, and probably Steve, as we would have been working different schedules, and that would have just been devastating. So to us, sleep was more important than the little bit of money I was going to make. Other things that we're doing is maybe after dinner, we might play 10 minutes of a quick game like Taboo, or there's a game called Code Names, or I try to pull a different game out. What are the other ones? I don't know. We have we have a lot of games in our cabinet. We try to pull them out and play for maybe 10 minutes to have some laughs, relax, then exercise for 10 to 20 minutes. I journal. I've been journaling since COVID started because that was such a stressful time too. So that's when I started journaling. So I've got a record of the whole pandemic up till now to, this is all related, I believe. I don't know. I believe this change in the economy is kind of related to COVID in a way.
Kind of.
A little bit. Then also other things we make sure we talk. If I tell Steve only one of us can be down at a time, right? So that if one's down, the other one's job is to bring that one up.
Right. And we did make a promise of 5 hugs a day. It's a challenge to keep that up, but we're working on it. We can get through maybe 2.
And then of course, Sammy.
Look
Look at the camera. Sammy, look at the camera. Sammy helps too. Look at the camera. Sammy helps too. She loves to make those silly cards. They're so silly. Something I never ever envisioned myself doing in my entire life. But she's just a natural model.
She is. She loves to model. Don't you love to model? Don't you love to model? Huh?
Yeah. So making those cards for strangers, I envision them opening the cards and smiling, and that makes me happy to know that I'm helping other people, because we are all connected. And even though we seem so angry and divided right now, we have more alike than we have different. And I just envision them opening them and getting these cards and laughing and having a good day because of this card with Sammy on it. Right, Sammy? So doing that and then making these videos.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to make a series here on losing your job. The first one is on emotions. We're going to get into choosing health care.
We're going to get into working through unemployment. That's a big challenge.
And cutting your costs.
Looking at
your savings and retirement. What you can do. I have been looking for 5 years for affordable housing. It doesn't seem to be out there. But we'll do a video on the different things that we have looked at over the past 5 years on how to reduce our housing costs. Sammy's
Sammy?
like, Sammy wants to jump down and eat
What are you
stuff.
doing?
She wants to eat things she's not supposed to be eating on the ground. She's always,
look at the camera.
always,
Look at the camera.
always getting in trouble. Always getting in trouble.
Yeah, that's your teenagers.
So stay tuned for those other videos. And if you've lost your job, our heart goes out to you. Before Steve lost his and I watched those videos, I felt so sorry for all the people who had lost their
Yes.
jobs because we knew. I mean, people don't think that it affects me because Steve lost his job, but of course it does.
Oh yeah, it affects everyone.
And even if he had retired, that's a major life change for both of us.
Right.
Even if we were in a position to retire and we're comfortable, it's a big change.
Sure is. So definitely take a deep breath, step back, look at your life, and move on. Make your plans and move on.
Well, like I believe the Serenity Prayer says just for today, or
Yeah.
I don't remember, but it's
Yeah.
just think about today, think about this moment,
Yes.
think about today is no worse than yesterday. So I always tell myself today is no worse than yesterday. We're not.
Well, the thing they'll always say is that you're here today, you have your health, and that's the greatest gift. And so, you can make it work. You just have to stay positive and keep your chin up, okay? And just move forward. The past is the past. The future we don't know. We only know today. And so live for today.
But not at the sacrifice of tomorrow.
Yeah.
But always, always, always be kind. We love our
Yes,
be kind.
be
shirts.
kind to everyone.
It's our theory. It's our philosophy.
It's our philosophy.
Philosophy of life. Be kind to everyone. You don't know what they're going through.
That's right.
And I have to tell you, I do miss comments. Dan and Sissy K are the only two who ever did comment, and I know I was real bad because we got such little comments. But if you feel that you can have a positive comment, please feel free. I don't like the negativity. That's one reason I did go away from reading comments, is because we did have a lot of negative people on there, and we're just not going to be brought down by that negativity. We're all in this together. We're all either Americans or living in America. We all support each other. We're all finding out how important everybody in this country is. As what was the saying? You don't know till they're gone. What you don't know what you got till they're gone.
You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah. So as people are leaving the country, you're seeing what you had. You're seeing what people did for us. As fruit and vegetables are getting more expensive, as we don't have the help to do our yard work or whatnot. You see what we had. You don't know what you
Right.
got until it's gone.
Yep. So anyway, hang in there. Tell us about, if you've been unemployed, tell us about your unemployment journey in our comments. And until next time,
Take it easy.